morning, class. I'll start with our next lecture in business communication today. Our chapter is commercial letters. So let's start with it now. What is a business or commercial letter? A business letter is usually a letter from one company to another, or between such organizations and their customers, clients, and other external parties. This is a definition given by W.J. Weston. A business letter is the process of accomplishing a business transaction in written form. So it's a letter, something that is written formally. There are informal letters, there are informal communications. A business letter is something which is formal. As W.J. Weston said, business letter is the process of accomplishing a business transaction in written form. So any kind of a letter or a communication which is being sent that is related to business is a business or a commercial letter. Even businesses can write letters, business letters to their customers and other external parties as well. There are some do's and don'ts of commercial letter. We all know that every communication may have pros and cons. So even if you are writing formally, it's a business letter, there are certain do's and don'ts to be followed. Let's see that. Any letter or business writing has two goals: to make people understand you and to get them to take action. Thus, it is essential for any business letter to be written after selecting with care the words that are being used. The choice of words is of utmost importance. Yes, while we are speaking orally or while we are in front of each other when two people are talking, the communication may be informal, and that really doesn't matter. But while writing, it is very important to be formal, to choose your words correctly. You cannot write something, even if you are writing within an organization to a colleague sitting next to you. If you are writing, it should be formal, because these are business etiquettes. So what is the goal? Why the business writing has goal? To make people understand you. Yes, because you are not speaking in front of them, you are not having face-to-face communication, you're writing to them, and writing can sometimes be ambiguous. The other person may not understand, so you have to write in such a way that people can understand you, and to get them to take action, they understand and then they reciprocate accordingly. So below are some principles of writing more effectively. These are some of the objectives, or rather what can be done, what can be followed for writing effectively. Write concisely. Writing concisely means being brief. You don't have to write the whole story. Yes, if a person, if you're sending something, if you want something to be done, you want it quickly, you've written a big email to the person, how much time the person spends in reading and decoding that email, because this is a communication, this is a written communication. There is a sender, the person sending the email or the letter is the sender, the person receiving is the receiver or the decoder. How much time would he spend in reading that letter? So it's better to be concise, to be brief. However, having said that, being concise doesn't mean that the information also is not sent. The information that is needed is also not sent because you want to be concise. That some letters, some reports need detailed information. So there you should be giving detailed information. You don't have to be brief in order to stop information. Be complete. Yes, as I said, it should be complete. if I'm saying being concise, being brief, doesn't really mean that you stop the information from being sent. If it has to be detailed, if it has to be long, it has to be. But repetitive words or using sentences longer than usual, that is not needed. Use nouns and verbs, write actively, be specific. Be specific. If you are specific, it would become concise effectively. Write interesting sentences. Yes, it has to be interesting for the other person to read it carefully. If you are writing something which is not interesting, the other person, the receiver, may not pay attention while reading it, and the information, the important information in the letter may get lost. So create the interest when you're writing. Write to your readers, not down to them. What does this mean? It means that show respect to the reader, to the receiver, to the decoder. You are writing to them. You're not insulting them. You may be giving, for example, a superior is giving an instruction to a subordinate, or rather giving an order to a subordinate. That really doesn't mean that you have the power to insult them. So you can write to your readers. You write to your readers, not down to them. You should not insult them in the process of writing a business letter. Use a positive tone. It's very important using a positive tone, because if it is not positive, the reader may not reciprocate effectively, and the letter would not have any meaning then. Be correct. You have to be correct. You should be correct to get a response, because if you are correct, then only would the reader give the information correctly, or whatever needs to be done, the action would be correct. Be clear. Control paragraph length. People, it is important while you're writing, it is important to know that your paragraph, your sentences should not be very long, because reading long sentences can bore the reader. Reading long paragraphs doesn't create that interest. So keep the paragraph short, keep the sentences short. It is said that a sentence having more than 25 words bores the reader. So this is what you should understand. This is what you should keep in mind while writing. Coherent integration, which means that you're writing the first paragraph with some details. The second paragraph in that particular letter should be coherent, or it should be integrated. The information should flow. The information should flow in sequence, not, for example, you're writing in the first paragraph about the financial audit that has taken place. In the second paragraph, suddenly you change the topic suddenly. This is not integration. You may say, as I mentioned earlier, you may use words that integrate, that integrate together the paragraphs. So this should be there, because it would create an effective response again. Alright, so that's about it for writing a commercial letter. Let's see the summary here. To conclude, it is important to understand that communication is a complex process. While writing a business letter, the sender is communicating to the receiver in writing. As I mentioned, the communication is a complex process. People, we should understand that while communicating, there are many things that need to be kept in mind. There are cultural differences, there are language differences, there are many differences while writing or while communicating. Whether it is an oral communication, whether as it is a business a written communication. So it is of utmost importance for the sender to know its receiver and should write accordingly. You have to know your receiver. You cannot write complex words to a subordinate who may not be able to understand its meaning properly. You need to use simple words for that. And if you're writing to somebody who may understand, then you have to know who the receiver of this letter, of this communication is. Being aware of the 10 commandments of communication can also help the sender in writing a business letter. 10 commandments, as we discussed in our earlier chapter, 10 commandments may help the sender to know where the communication is going, where the letter is going. It is good to know your receiver. So 10 commandments may help in it. The letter should be clear and unambiguous and should be clearly understood by the recipient. As mentioned earlier, it should be clear. We all know that whatever we are communicating, whether it is oral, whether it is written, it should be clear and unambiguous. There should not be an ambiguity. The receiver, after receiving this letter, after reading the letter, or after getting communication, should not be in doubt. It should be unambiguous, without doubt. They should be able to understand the meaning of this letter. If it is ambiguous, for example, if it has doubts, you have not written, you have not instructed, whatever you are writing, it is not clear. How will the recipient, how will the receiver reciprocate? So this is about commercial letters. This is the end of the chapter here. I hope we have been able to understand how important it is while writing letters to know your recipient and to know what message needs to be sent. Let's see. Okay, so we have questions here, people. You can work on it, and I'll be back soon with another lecture. Thank you. Bye.